Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating, the hidden mechanics of human psychology. We're going to equip you with the exact tools you need to decode the people around you and read them like a book, using direct insights from top behavioral experts. Let's get right into it.
Now, imagine sitting across the table from a total stranger. Maybe it's a first date, or a high-stakes negotiation, or even a really crucial job interview, right? The tension is palpable. What if you could figure out their true intentions, measure their actual confidence, and gauge their openness to your ideas before they even utter a single word? It sounds like magic, doesn't it? But actually, it's not. It's a highly strategic toolkit, and it is entirely grounded in the science of human observation.
And the reason this is even possible comes down to the numbers. A staggering 93% of human communication is entirely nonverbal. Just think about that for a second. The actual words we spend so much time obsessing over, they barely matter. They make up a measly 7% of the message. The tone of your voice carries about 38%, but the vast majority of what you're actually saying, 55%, is broadcast entirely through your body language. So if you're only listening to the words, well, you're missing almost the entire conversation.
So here is our roadmap for today. 1. Handshakes and dominance. 2. Detecting truth versus lies. 3. Psychology of hiring right. And 4. Body poses and hormones.
Section 1. Handshakes and Dominance. Decoding First Impressions. Let's look at the very first tool in our behavioral decoder kit, the handshake. Sure, it's the universal first impression, but it secretly transmits a massive amount of psychological data. Notice the stark contrast between these two approaches. On one side, we have the dominant handshake, where the person turns their palm facing down. This signifies a subconscious need for power, control, and attention. They're literally trying to get the upper hand. On the flip side, we have the receptive handshake, with the palm slightly open and facing up. This broadcasts openness. It shows they're already primed to accept you and whatever information you're bringing to the table.
The dominant mentality places the hand on top. The receptive mentality opens the hand to accept. Recognizing this instantly gives you a huge strategic advantage. If someone gives you a dominant handshake, you immediately know what you're dealing with, right? They might need their ego stroked just a bit before you make your pitch. You gotta let them feel in control. But if they're receptive and open, they've already validated your authority, and you can get straight down to business.
Section 2. Detecting truth versus lies, the baseline methodology.
As we dive into the really thrilling world of lie detection, it is absolutely crucial to understand that this is not just a guessing game. Top intelligence agencies rely on one core concept: baseline behavior. Basically, this is a person's normal, relaxed state. It's how they naturally sit, how their eyes typically move, how they gesture when there's zero pressure. Now, a lot of people get this wrong. They jump straight to looking for deceptive tells without even knowing the baseline. But listen, you absolutely cannot detect a lie if you haven't first established what the person's honest, relaxed truth looks like.
So here is the exact step-by-step procedure forensic experts use to crack a fabricated story. First up, you build casual rapport to establish that relaxed baseline we just talked about. Second, you ask them to recall a high-detail, chronological story. For instance, in our source material, the expert recounted asking a subject to precisely describe a past trip to Cox's Bazaar. They didn't just ask, "Hey, did you go?" No, they asked for the timeline, the sites, the specific sequence of events. And finally, step 3, you watch for signs of cognitive load. As their brain starts scrambling to invent and keep track of all those fake details about Cox's Bazaar, the truth literally starts leaking out through their body language.
One of the most immediate indicators of that cognitive load? Eye tracking. When someone is recalling a genuine memory, their eyes naturally move in a specific direction based on their baseline, usually up and to the left or right, depending on the person. Their brain is simply, retrieving a file. But when they're actively constructing a new lie, their brain is working in a completely different way. You'll often see their eyes dart to a totally different quadrant as they desperately try to invent the narrative right there on the spot.
But hey, the eyes aren't the only tell. Check out these physical red flags of a brain struggling under the weight of a lie. You might see this sudden, totally unnatural stiffness in their posture, almost like they're freezing in place. Or, and I find this wildly fascinating, touching the nose. When a person lies, the stress actually causes a spike in catecholamine hormones, which literally makes the tissues in the nose itch. No way, right? But in real life, this looks like a quick nervous brush to the face. Other signs include touching the ears, awkward pauses where they suddenly lose their natural conversational flow, or nervously over-explaining totally unprompted details just because they are trying way too hard to sell you on that fake story.
Section 3.
Psychology of hiring right, beyond the resume.
Now let's pivot a bit and apply these exact same observational skills to the business world. Decoding candidates during a job interview lets you look way beyond a polished resume. You're looking for psychological green flags, things like strong emotional regulation. A top-tier hire isn't just someone who can handle their standard everyday tasks. They're someone who won't emotionally break when an unexpected 15-kilogram stress load suddenly drops onto their desk. You want someone with a clear 2 to 3 year personal vision, the ability to adapt instantly to new information, and, this is crucial, someone who learns by observing the mistakes of others rather than having to make every single mistake themselves.
On the flip side, if you ignore the baseline methodology and these nonverbal cues during an interview, you really risk letting massive red flags slip right through the front door. We're talking about extreme mood swings, a highly fragile ego, or the total inability to accept constructive criticism. And honestly, worse yet are candidates showing narcissistic personality traits who demand constant attention and dominance in every single interaction. If left unchecked, these individuals won't just fail at their job, they can literally destroy your entire company culture from the inside out.
Section 4. Body poses and hormones. The chemistry of confidence.
Let's move to our next revelation, and this one pretty much flips everything we've talked about so far entirely on its head. We know body language broadcasts our feelings to others, but guess what? It also actively alters our own internal chemistry. Look at the biological data behind how we sit and stand. When you adopt a high-power pose, sitting expansively, taking up space like a boss, your testosterone increases by 20% and your cortisol, which is a stress hormone, drops by 25%. However, if you adopt a low-power pose, making yourself small, crossing your arms, hunching over, your testosterone actually drops 10% and your stress levels go up.
Let's isolate that testosterone metric for just a moment. By expanding your physical posture for just 2 minutes, you actively flood your system with testosterone. Seriously, 2 minutes. You are instantly, biologically boosting your natural leadership energy, your assertiveness, and your confidence without doing anything but changing how you take up space in the room. It's a real game changer.
And look at the corresponding effect on cortisol. Those exact same expansive power poses simultaneously crush your stress hormone levels. This means you can effectively delete your anxiety right before a major job interview, high-stakes negotiation, or a big presentation just by standing correctly in the hallway beforehand.
We actually see high-power posturing everywhere in everyday life. Think of the classic mom pose. You know the one. Hands resting firmly on the hips. It's this universal stance that mothers everywhere naturally adopt to take up space and establish absolute, unquestionable authority over a situation. It is biological dominance in action, and it's hardwired right into our behavior.
Section 5. Building successful communication. Putting the decoder to work. So how do we ethically use this entire toolkit to navigate the world and build authentic, lasting connections? First and foremost, you've got to maintain an internally positive mindset and avoid projecting negative assumptions. If you walk into a room secretly judging people, I promise you that negativity will physically manifest on your face and people will subconsciously pull away from you. You also need to read and respect the cultural room you're standing in. And finally, use physical mirroring. This just means naturally matching the leaning and posture of the person you're speaking with. Why does this work so incredibly well? Because mirroring subconsciously signals to their brain, hey, I'm like you, we're on the same page, and we're safe. It builds instant unspoken rapport.
Well, we've completely demystified the silent signals of human interaction today. But before you go out and start decoding everyone else, take a quick moment to look at yourself right now. How are you sitting? How are your shoulders positioned? What is your own body language secretly broadcasting to the world in this exact second?